How's it going, everyone? It is Tuesday, September 24th, 2024. Nice to be back after quite a bit of traveling. Let's get into the market, or the picks, I should say, from the last video, which was Verizon, VZ. And actually, let me go into this chart. So let's just look at the setup first that we took on the D1. Verizon in this bullish trend. Bit of a choppy stock. It had pulled back after this breakout, tested this level, had held, and now is inching higher. We took it off this bounce off the bottom of that bullish channel. Is reacting a little bit to this candle over here. If we just zoom into maybe the M30 chart, we can see that a little bit more clearly. A little bit of a high volume candle, some reaction here, but stock is generally moving up. So still like this trade. We have to be a little bit more patient, but I think we could probably grab, I don't know, maybe 75 cents on this, get it to 45. I think that is pretty doable on a stock like this. May have to give it a few days. We're leaning on the market over here as well. The market has not had a ton of tailwind, but after the breakout to the new all-time high, it has held and tested the prior all-time high on the 20th and is making a little bit of a mini rally up since then. Some tiny body, very compressed candles, low volume coming in. We're going to take a look at that in a second. So market fundamentally, the main theme that I talked about on Friday was the rate cuts from the Fed, 50 basis point cuts. I think they're talking about another 2 cuts. Market is pricing in another another 50 basis points. Or I should say, the Fed is pricing in a total of 100 basis point cut by the end of the year. So that would be another 2 quarter point cuts. So 25, 25. Market's thinking something like maybe 50, 25, or a smaller chance of 50, 50. I think 350s back was pretty aggressive. I could see a 50, 25 here. But that's what's coming in right now. In terms of the other economic backdrops, the Fed is pretty dovish. They feel pretty good about the economy right now. They're trying to cut before there's sort of any major spike in unemployment or any recession fears. But right now it looks like they are on track to hit this soft landing. The other important point here is the election. Right now it's a 50-50 coin toss. Election comes out in about 6 weeks or so. And there's not a lot of news in these next 2 weeks. We have some CPI, some unemployment. There's going to be some bank earnings coming out next week as we have Q3 earnings to come out. And then the end of the month should be interesting with mega cap tech earnings, the election. So there might be a lot of fun activity at that time. But putting all that together, I think we are definitely mildly bullish right now. We're still at an all-time high, but the way that we've broken through this is important, and technically we're going to look at that right now. We got the first test, big drop, and we had a big bounce, which was our first clue. If this was a real big selling, we should have kept this downward sloping trend line. When we broke through that, that told us that there was trouble. We get the second attempt lower. This was a nice clean break on the 6th. Really like this breakdown here. Couldn't get any follow through. We tested this point pretty quickly. We had a higher low double bottom and then a big reversal day on the 11th. And we formed upward sloping trend line, formed a higher low, potentially had a new breakout. So we rallied up here to the new all-time high, took some nice wins and some swing trades over here. Market was compressing, then the breakout, and now we tested the breakout and we're trying to inch a little bit higher. So what's going on in the short term? After the breakout here, the price action has been a little bit sluggish. So we got the breakout, we got a nice little grind up higher, gap down with some selling, tested the prior all-time high, came back up, another smack down lower, came back up, flat day over here, gap up, boom, 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 some big heavy selling, and then a strong response back. So we see that every time we get a big move down, buyers are gobbling back up. So on these big moves down, that's when we want to find a relatively strong stocks, and then we can day trade from the long side. I think that's our best bet. We have that bid check usually within the first hour to 2 hours of the day. It's usually somewhere here where we get this contra move, and then we can join relatively strong stocks that held up pretty well in that move. That's been a really nice day trading strategy. So let's take a look at what is going on today. So like I mentioned yesterday, very flat day. This is some garbage price action, super low volume. If you find maybe one really nice stock on a day like this, that's all you got to do. On today, we had a gap up, and it was inching lower, so this was pretty weak. And then we got a weak consumer report that came out. Consumer sentiment was lower than expected, so we got this long red candle, a little bit of a tail here at the prior day's low, and then we got some tails above body and some fighting. And I knew this move had a decent chance of retracing because it was one, overextended, and two, it's consumer sentiment's not a crazy news. And also, we knew that long-term buyers are going to look in and to get in at that price. So we got some fighting over here. Here was an interesting clue at 1035 where we break through, we make a marginal new low, we poke through. So this is looking pretty bearish right now. Then we get this bullish engulf. So this is a big clue. Look at the volume on that candle too, by the way. That's some nice volume. And then on some decent volume, we suck back up really strongly here into the range, some stackering candles. Then we get a little bit of follow through buying. It's a little bit weak. And then we get the second kind of key bar of the day. So this move here is kind of the first important part. The second part is this flush out of these sellers on the open. So long green candle, good volume over here. Key bar closing near its high, and the market actually holds this level. It doesn't immediately smack it down. And I think that's pretty important because if we got a big red candle back to the range, that tells us to be careful. But the fact that we didn't get that tells us that buyers are actually stepping in. So buyers are coming in. We're seeing some equilibrium, and we're holding this level at the all-time, or not the all-time high, the high of the day. We're holding this level. So we're seeing some potentially a little double top marginal new high. I'm still leaning on this line of the sand here. This bearish cycle, it could produce. I'll make this a little bit bigger to see. So it could produce over here, but so far it is diverging. So I'm going to give it some time. I think even if it does produce, we might see a move back to VWAP or a little poke below, form a new high, and then we'll get that next slingshot higher. I think something like we saw on a day like this, I think that's a pretty similar day, although we didn't get a breakout candle. That's kind of the bigger news. And the move up on this day wasn't as strong as the move up that we're seeing today. So we have a bullish reversal, and that is having me lean into my 2-day trades. I'll show you the 2-day trades I'm in right now, and one of them is going to be the pick of the day. First one that I took was TSM. Took this as a day trade long over here. It's a nice little exit signal, interestingly. Stock has managed to rally up higher, but this is going to be our pick for today. Excuse me, had to sneeze. So here's why I like TSM. So broke to the gap, broke through horizontal resistance. We have this upward sloping trend line. We have some higher highs that tells us that buyers are engaged. Semis have made a pretty nice move in the last hour, and we have some room to fill in this gap. There is a little bit potentially of some resistance somewhere here, but we have some nice room into the gap. I really like this move on TSM. So that is going to be our swing pick for the day. I'm going to add that to our YouTube picks. And on TSM, we're going to lean on this breakout level. We're going to lean ideally on this close above 178, but we can even let some wiggle room until about 176.50, 177, around this low. Give it some wiggle room over here. On SPY, we're leaning on that 565, that prior all-time high. So those are our two levels that we are leaning on. The other day trade that I'm in, and another nice pick, was PDD. So there was some China news that came out on a stimulus package. Big pop up in a lot of Chinese stocks. PDD into the gap on that D1 buy signal. Lots of heavy volume today. You can see how it had gap up. It didn't immediately sell off, and it actually compressed while the market was going down. So that's a nice sign of strength. as soon as the market started to lift off here around 10:45, you can see how this stock made a new high of the day and then came up higher. Now it's going sideways. So in this day trade right now, the main thing here on PDD is that it's actually not giving back any of these gains. It's flatlining here, but not giving up any of these gains. So that tells you that buyers are in control. So as long as we hold this level, we should be good to go. And then we have a chance to actually push up and make a new high of the day. But yeah, TSM is going to be our pick for today. So very short video today. I'm keeping them a little bit shorter since my OBS keeps on crashing, but TSM is a short-term swing. Thank you guys for watching. We'll take a look at how TSM and Verizon is doing in tomorrow's video.